Now, it doesn't matter whether you're taking pictures, recording video. If you're using a relatively recent camera, you're going to want to pick up a couple of quick SD cards. That's just to make sure that you're not limiting your buffer or potentially not able to use some of the recording profiles when you're taking video. One of the nice things that I did for myself a couple of years ago was pick up a few of these. These are some Sony 256GB UHS-2 V60 cards. Plenty fast enough for the cameras that I use. But once you get up to UHS-2 speeds, you're going to want to pick yourself up a UHS-2 SD card reader. And you can make do with your current SD card reader, but what's going to happen is you'll find that, especially with quick SD cards, it's so easy to accumulate a ton of footage or pictures. Then you're potentially transferring hundreds of gigabytes, and it is going to take a ton of time. So one of the things that I did for myself after I picked these cards up was get myself a proper UHS-2 card reader. And this is the one that I've been using on my desktop that I love. And I recently picked one up for mobile use when I'm out and about for my laptop. And this thing is pretty goddamn quick and a hell of a good bargain. Before we get onto the speed test, let's talk about form factor, because that makes a pretty big difference, as you'll see here in a bit, because this is ultimately what I think is going to make the biggest difference as to what you want. This is the first one that I picked up from ProGrade, a dual SD card slot. Each slot has an LED indicator, which is super nice, very easy, very obvious to see which one is currently being used. On the back, you have the connectivity being provided by a USB Type-C port. Make sure that you do not lose the cable that it comes with. If you do, it's going to be tough, because this is a specific spec of cable that you're not likely to have a spare of. Just FYI, I have it connected to my PC on the fastest port that I have available, which is USB 3.2 Gen 2, but I think it'll work on any USB-C port that you have that is USB 3.0 or greater. The other thing that I love, a hidden feature that isn't really obvious upon first inspection, is that this has a magnetic base, and I just stick this on the side of my case, hook it up with the cable, and I never move it. I leave it on there, especially now that I picked up the travel one that I've been using, which is this Kingston one, which is an amazing bargain right now on Amazon. At the time of filming, you can pick this up for $11, which is kind of nuts, and you'll see why when we get to the speed test portion of this. It feels pretty sturdy. I mean, it's still plastic, don't get me wrong. If you want to break it, I'm sure you could, but for the price, I think that this is a solid deal, maybe the best deal in camera gear in general. All of these are going to be definitely in the description. The price of this one, if you're curious, as of filming, is about $64, which I think is pretty good. I definitely paid much more than that a couple of years ago. The couple of generic ones, which I'll quickly go over. This is a generic one that I picked up years and years ago, mainly because I wanted the ability to have a lot of connection options. USB-C, USB-A, and even micro USB back when that was still relevant. So that was pretty cool, but it is not very quick. I don't even think it's USB 3.0. This other one, however, is definitely USB 3.0, and this is interesting, and you'll see kind of why in the speed test. Anyway, let's cut the crap and get to it. Now, to get an idea, a more real life test as to see what the difference between the speeds are. So we're going to copy all of these files, which ends up being about 16 gigabytes almost, just a hair under that, from the SD card, from the ProGrade SD card reader over to my internal SSD. And ready, I'm going to try to time the stopwatch with it as best as I can. And immediately, one of the things that we want to look out for is this speed. This is going at 200 plus megabytes, and that's what you want to see. With some of the lower end or more generic SD card readers, you're going to see a fraction of that, and we're going to take a look at one of those here in a bit just to see what that ends up looking like. And pretty damn consistent from my initial test that I didn't show, but this is 1 minute and 11 seconds just about, Now let's give it a shot with the cheaper, the much cheaper alternative of this Kingston, which I think you're going to be a little bit surprised. The same exact files, the same exact SD card, and we're going to be transferring that here in a bit. I'm going to reset the stopwatch, get ready for the transfer, and go. And as we're getting close to wrapping this up, you can already see, based on the speeds that we're getting at the transfer, it's going to be pretty damn similar, and it's just about to wrap up. Let's get an official number. Can it be 1 minute 11 seconds? It was just a second, almost exactly longer, which it could just be up to, you know, if I did this a couple more times, I might hit that mark, but it's almost identical, which is crazy because this is just plugged into a standard USB 3.0 port. I mean, it shouldn't be shocking, but you just kind of assume that the more pro grade, which is funny because that's the brand name, would be a lot quicker, but it's not. It's just not. So this thing, at the price that you can find it at, is such a goddamn good deal, and I love it. I'll let you know. I'll pin a comment down below if I ever need to replace this SD card reader, but for the past month or two, it's been completely rock solid. Now let's take a look at a generic reader and see what the speeds are there. And here we have a super generic card reader. It's super handy, but in terms of speeds, let's see what we're dealing with. Ready and go. Immediately, you're gonna see what I was talking about. Over here, compared to what we were getting before, this is almost exactly a tenth of the speed, maybe even a little bit less. So already in the estimated time remaining, we're talking 13 minutes instead of a single minute and a few seconds after. So I'm gonna let this run. It's gonna take a long ass time, so pardon me while I go chill out. Okay, I actually sat here and waited for this to finish. Let's see what the final time is, because holy shit, I am fucking done. Almost. Okay, so 13 minutes, 35 seconds. That is basically tenfold, a little bit over that, I think, of using a USB 3 at least. UHS 2 reader, not just UHS 2 compatible, and I'll show you what I mean by that, because this, I found this while I was looking for the other ones. This is a USB 3.0 SD card reader that is UHS 2 compatible, but all that means it's gonna read it, but it's gonna use the same speeds that you would get with something more generic, which is what I was doing with this old special. Copying, resetting. I'm just gonna start it because I don't have time for this. Okay, so you're gonna see it's actually somewhere in the middle. It is a little bit faster than a generic, completely generic SD card reader, but it's nowhere near the speeds of a proper UHS 2 SD card reader. All this was to say, do yourself a favor, get a proper UHS 2 card reader. For the price of this, there's just really no excuse to waste all of that time just waiting. It just feels so much better getting to your computer, dumping your files, and you're already working on them. You don't have to wait for 10 plus minutes for stuff to transfer. And this was only with 16 gigabytes of stuff. If you had more than that, it's just going to get even more crazy. It doesn't make sense. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I'll do my best to respond. I'll leave links to all of the ones that I talked about. Well, all of the good ones that I talked about down in the description below. So keep shooting. See ya.